Know who you are.
And going to start by mixing.
Fight it. We didn't just sort of roll into the grand jury without trying to fight it. We did it. We got a ruling in our.
So this is a work session for the tree and the tree planting proposal. So Chad, I'm going to flip it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Council President. Appreciate you joining in today. Looks like Carrie, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Great. We have a few other people here, so we're good to go. So the city was approached by Sharon Klopfer, and we were discussing, a lot of the tree removal that's been going on in Deer Park. And she had a very strong desire to start planting more trees within Deer Park to keep it beautiful. And we went back and forth, her and I, about some of the plans to put this together. And we found that there are some complications in that, making sure that we install the trees correctly, making sure that we get the water there to be able to support them, putting them in the right of ways in the appropriate manner for when they grow, and where to put them. were all questions, and Sharon came up with some really good ideas and some places to where those would be. We were also talking about the types of trees that we were looking at, whether it be cherry trees or something that was a little bit different, and the consensus of the people that were working on it, wouldn't it be nice to continue the cherry tree look up and down Pacific Way as they are in front of the city hall, fire station, and the water treatment facility. So, oh, and Centennial Park. And so when we started getting into that question, and Sharon was asking me questions, and can we do this now? I was resistant because we didn't really have a plan. And the purpose of having some sort of plan with public input and things like that, I think that that's what Gearhart wants to see. If we were to get into doing this and we had a plan and people were wrapped around in it, it would be a really good project. And I think that's where we want to get this to, is to that point. But how do we get that when, you know, at this point, we haven't had public input. We've got some people that are motivated and willing to volunteer, but we haven't had a lot of input about where to put these things and what trees are in there. So Councilor Dana, you had a meeting with a group of the ladies as well in regards to the trees. No, sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong.
Yeah, read it, Mike.
Yeah, okay.
To discuss.
And I think you were a part of, you know, learning what their desires were and whether or not this is, I mean, and this was an idea that we kind of wanted to head towards. I think that what we came up with was to get the public participation in this kind of thing, was to kind of treat this as though it was part of the park system, and that we could have a conditional use process through the planning commission, kind of work through the details. And in that way, we would have also a public hearing, so people around Gearhart can talk about what their desires and thoughts are. We've received one piece of correspondence that was against it. We've received other correspondence that was for this project. So obviously we've got some feelings that are out there. Unfortunately, you know, this is the season to plant trees, and we can kind of, you know, this is a perfect time to do it. But without a plan, I was hesitant to just get going. How did the trees end up in front of City Hall? You know, well, they were installed over a weekend by someone. We're pretty sure I know who, but there wasn't any plan for that. Or the trees that were in front of the city fire station. We planted those and we thought we could do a volunteer effort, and it didn't work out so well. Those trees were struggling. The trees that we have water on are doing great. So what I was thinking was to go through that planning commission and work through them and see if we can get a plan put together that the community would buy in on. And then we can start doing that over a period of time and do it correctly, so that the trees have the best opportunity to thrive. So that was my thoughts on the situation after talking to all of you and a bunch of people, and certainly Sharon. And so I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts about that direction, or if you think that we can handle this a little bit differently.
I'd like to hear from Sharon on the project.
Well, I think Jan summarized it pretty well. I do. The Urban Forestry Department to ask them about your concern regarding tree planting, street tree planting versus, maybe not versus, but vis-a-vis the homeless situation. And the reply came back today. Actually, I talked to one of the urban foresters, and he said that Portland does not have a concern about that. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that's the response that I got. I am sure if any of you had questions, that they'd be happy. And I can supply you with the phone number of where to call, or you can send them an email. But anyway, that was the response that I got. So I just wanted to give you that piece of information. I'm still absolutely willing to water these trees through 2 dry seasons. Be more than happy to do that. I have an extensive horticultural background as far as things like that. So it's not like you're getting somebody who doesn't know how to take care of plants. But I also understand Chad's concerns. If I end up in the hospital or something happens,
In the water.
we don't have. You don't think I stay here?
I saw.
So I'm not against putting in a system. I just understand it's gonna cost a lot more money. I'm willing to chip in money towards that. I don't know. I think it would be very important to find out from the public what their objections would be. Not just that they object, but what they might be, because maybe we can address some of those concerns. So, sounds good.
And we have that recent piece of correspondence, we put that in your packet. It looks like that, so we've seen that, so that's really one or two of the concerns that we have, it hasn't been, that busy. Any other ideas from the chief counselors?
Well, I asked Justine if the city would respond by email to this email person. And Mayor Dana said that she would be happy, Mayor Dana, Counselor Dana, said that she'd be happy to respond, so I think that's what we'll do. So the next step is that turn this over to the planning commission, is this correct?
I think so. I think so, just to have some public dialogue.
Okay.
And to get their take on it as well. Planning commission is all about planning, and they do care very much for the community. And, I do think they also care very much for trees, so I think it'll be a good opportunity. But that way we can come up with a plan, we can put a little bit of money aside. I know there's gonna be some aspects that are gonna be a little bit expensive, but in the whole grand scheme of things, it's not that much. In the work that we've done already with Mark McFadden and talked about what we have in some of the areas that Sharon is looking at, it's not that expensive. It's something that I think we could support once we have that plan.
Preston, do you have any comments or questions?
Well, if we're gonna put them on the west side of Cottage Avenue and competing with the pine trees there, I don't think that's gonna work necessarily. My biggest concern is, we have flower pots downtown Gerhard, and everybody in Gerhard said, yeah, we'll help take care of them and everything like that. And now I know that I know of one individual that takes care of them, but I don't see a lot of help there. So, everybody wants to, in the initial offering, everybody wants to help out. And then pretty soon they start dropping off and then it's totally up to you. And then, like you say, and just remember, you're planting a tree in sand, so to speak. So the retention of water is fairly non-existent.
Well, we would put some good dirt fill in around the tree, but ultimately you're correct, because the good dirt eventually filters down through the sand.
Portland's got, topsoil. We have sand. So, those are the concerns that I've got, so.
Any other concerns?
Well, after speaking with Sharon, and Sharon and I have spoken about trees before, and I support her goal to, make sure that Gerhard remains looking the way it does with the trees. I don't think any of us want to end up looking like a modern housing complex without where all of the trees are gone. My only hesitation, and one of the things we discussed, is it has to be very well thought out, and we need to come up with a plan. So I support giving it to the planning commission, having them look at this, directing them to look at this, and to look at the what's the best way to do this. We already have a tree plan. Should this be incorporated? And we need to think, we need to be playing chess instead of checkers, because at some point, we're gonna have the 101 improved, and we want to put trees down there. We don't want to put in trees that are blowing flowers into people's yards without allowing them some kind of feedback on that. And we also have to really remember that the rocks in front of our house is essentially street, and you don't normally put a tree in the middle of the street. And if we're going to put a tree in that area, what does it say for us in the future when we have abandoned vehicles in that area? How, you know, what authority do we have to remove them if we're allowing others to block right of ways? So that would be my concern. So I'm not against it. I'm just saying it needs to be planned out. The questions that Ms. Papadopoulos, if I said her name right, brings up, I think are very valid. And so it needs more consideration. So I am all for directing the planning commission to take it on and to work speedily on it if they can.
And I want to thank Sharon for bringing this to the attention of the city. I think it is a good vision for our future. I really do. So thank you. So without any other comments or questions?
So can I go?
Oh, yes.
Sorry. So you're gonna put in a formal request to the planning commission? Is that how this works, or?
I think that's something that you and I can probably work out during the next planning commission meeting. You know, put this bucket in there and then figure out with them what the plan of action would be.
Well, in the past, hasn't city council occasionally directed the planning commission to take a look at something and to prioritize it? I think it would probably carry more weight if it came from you all.
Would we need a vote for that?
No, I mean, I think that you can just indicate to staff that this needs to be on the planning agenda and we can put it on. Because you're not making a decision tonight, you're asking them to do a public process so that these concerns can be met. So you don't need to vote for that to happen.
And Madam President, also might ask Mayor Smith if he's got any questions at all.
Mayor Smith. Do you have any concerns?
President Backrell, no, I don't have any questions at all. I think going to the planning commission is a great idea. Allowing them to have a process where we can get public input for the positive and the negative, and that way we can proceed in a informed fashion.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? No? All right, this work session is closed.
So we're gonna take a little 15-minute break before the city council meeting starts. We're gonna break into small groups here and just discuss a few things. So make yourselves at home.